Imagine you were in a high-ticket business like a Magic, and you have, and you're giving yourself a deadline of say 2 weeks to close 10 sales, right? Because you know every sale pays 500 or more, every sale that you make. So suppose you have a goal this month of $5,000, you have to make 10 sales, and so if you give yourself a deadline of 2 weeks and you have leads that are ready to be nurtured, what is the quickest way to convert those leads? Because remember, you have to build trust, you have to gain their confidence, they have to like you, and before they even buy a product from you, right? So what is the best way to nurture them really quickly so that you can reach your goal or reach a certain goal by a certain deadline? Suppose you had 2 weeks. What would be the most important things to do? So if the objective is 10 high ticket sales, for example, right, in the next 7 days, the biggest mistake is trying to convince all your leads that this is the best thing for them. The fastest path to identify who is already closest to buying, to qualify them quickly, spend nearly all of your time on those people. Now, with 180 leads, for example, which I have, I'd treat this like a sales sprint rather than a marketing campaign. So on day one, for example, I would categorize everyone. I won't send the same message to everyone. Don't do that. Don't cut and paste, customize. Split them into hot leads, like the 10 or 20 would be hot leads. Ask for information. Those who ask for information, those who engaged with you recently or previously booked a call, right? Mentioned wanting another income stream. Those are the hot leads. The warm leads are those that like your content, maybe have chatted with you before, but never really got around to finding out what the Enagic business was about. They might watch your stories, for example. Cold leads are those that don't interact with you at all. So focus on the ones that are either hot or warm, okay? And then your income will come from the hot and warm leads. So rule number one, don't sell the business. Sell the transformation that they will experience when they join the business. So nobody wakes up wanting an Enagic business. They wake up wanting freedom, more money, they want time, they want purpose, they want an exit strategy, they want holidays and all that stuff. So talk about those. They want freedom from being captive to a job. So the Facebook strategy that I would use is, say, step one, I would voice note every hot lead, and voice notes build trust much faster than text. So if you are communicating with a lead rather than text them, you might want to do a voice message, okay? So they hear you, they connect with you better. So you can say something like, hey, Sarah, I was thinking about our last conversation and wanted to reach out to you personally because I don't think the timing was right back then. I don't know if anything has changed for you, but I have a feeling this might make more sense for you now. This is for all leads, right? Are you still open to creating another income stream if it actually fitted around your current life? These are for all leads that you might have had a chat with before, and but you're not pitching them again, but just reconnecting with them. So don't send them any links, don't put any pressure, just create some curiosity or just be curious about what they might be up to. So when they reply, yes, I'm willing to look at it again, don't send information. Don't just hold back a little bit, hold back the enthusiasm, but ask them questions. So questions could be, what would another income stream actually change for you now, and then wait for their answer. Don't be so quick to supply them with information. And then, what does your current work situation look like? Wait, find out be genuinely curious and genuinely interested in their life. Now, if nothing changes over the next 3 years, are you happy with that? Some people are happy, so you need to find out if they will be happy. Now emotions start appearing, right? So people will start like revealing a little bit about their job and how they feel about it. So when they reveal that they are not really happy about their job, then engage in a conversation and see if you can provide the solution they're looking for, right? So based on their answer, I would say, based on what you've told me, I think this might be worth showing you, and see what they say. Anyway, the trust framework. So people buy when they feel understood, they feel safe with you, they're confident, they're inspired, and not when they're educated. So your goal is not to educate them or give them all the information right away, but is to gain their trust. I meant to say earn their trust or gain their trust, okay? So your stories need to focus on, instead of focusing on the compensation plan or the technicalities of the business, tell stories. For example, you can share your story. Like in my case, I spent 26 years in network marketing. I made mistakes. I worked incredibly hard. And sometimes I wondered if it would ever happen, that financial freedom. So the biggest shift wasn't becoming better. I was finding a better vehicle. So finally, I found this better vehicle. Talk a little bit about your journey and how you found this vehicle and what it's doing, what made it different from the others. So never defend price, right? If someone has a pricing objection, if someone says it's expensive, don't explain. Just say, compared to what? Because it's relative, isn't it, pricing? So let them answer so you can find out what their real objection is. And what would it cost you if you were staying exactly where you are now in the next 3 years? Now they're comparing futures in their head, right? They're not comparing prices anymore. And then and then you lead them to decision questions. So after showing the opportunity, don't ask, what do you think? Say things like, instead ask them things like, what stood out to you most, or what excited you about that, what you just seen. But don't say, what do you think? Because that is so general and so wide, so broad, that they wouldn't even know how to start answering that question, see? Because you want to get to what their real objection is. So ask them what excited them, or what didn't you like about it, what stood out to you most. And then always completely respect their answers, okay? And then ask them specifically, do you need to think about it? Or what do you need to think about specifically? So depending on their answer, you might say, okay, I understand, that's your concern. What exactly is your concern? Is it because you feel that that you'll be left alone, or that you wouldn't have support, or you wouldn't know how to start, you wouldn't have the training and the systems to guide you? Is that what you're really concerned about? And then empathize with them, because part of selling is really empathizing with their problem and their objections, and empathizing with their situation as well. So if someone has a pricing objection, you might want to talk about the value, because you can't defend the price. It is priced the way it is for a reason, because it's a product that has no competition, for example, or it's a product it's a high value product, right? And it compensates you well when you talk to people about it, and when you sell the product, you are compensated well for it. So it all builds into the price. But rather than defend the price, talk about the value they'll receive out of it. And the value could not just be the intrinsic value of the product, not just the benefits they get from using the product, but also the benefits they get from talking about it and sharing it with others, okay? Because they're in a business where they have to understand the product and talk about it. And so that understanding, that investment in the product is necessary. It's a necessary part of the onboarding process. It's a necessary part of being a business owner. It's a necessary part of promoting the product and earning from promoting the product, right? So they have to understand the product. They have to know the benefits, experience it firsthand in order to build with, to share it with credibility, or with what's that word? To be authentic about it and to be truthful about it. You have to understand it firsthand, from firsthand experience, in order to share it. So it's a critical part of building that business. Okay, so you have to get them from not just understanding the product, and you have to get to understanding the objections, but also to show them the way forward. First of all, if they have say violent objections to the price or the business model, empathize with them and try to understand where that objection is really coming from, because there might be hidden prejudices that you will uncover in the process of discussing and talking to them. And your job is not to convince them that this is for them, but they have to feel empowered to make that decision. They have to hear your point of view because they are in the process of searching or getting information about the product and the business. So they have to understand the journey ahead, and they have to. The only way they can hear about the journey ahead is to hear it from you, because you are you have been already on that journey, and so you understand what it looks like for them moving forward. So usually you uncover all the objections the more questions you ask, right? And if it's fear, say that's actually a really healthy response. Okay, if they fear for whatever reason, they fear, that's really a healthy response, because nobody should invest in something they don't understand. So can I ask you, are you more afraid of making the wrong decision, or are you just staying exactly where you are? You just want to stay exactly where you are. You're not really striving for anything more.